Hello, dear traveler. Welcome back to the Candlelit Journal. Tonight we return once more to the crossroads, to the small inn where firelight flickers against frost-touched windows and weary souls find rest beneath low wooden beams. It is late autumn here, those final days before winter claims the land, and something strange has happened overnight. The ancient oak tree, the one that has stood at the crossing of roads longer than anyone can remember, has been decorated. Ribbons flutter from its branches, small carved figures hang among the last stubborn leaves, and no one knows who did it. Settle in now. Let the innkeeper's voice carry you through this night of quiet wonder.
I woke before the sun had risen, before even the earliest gray light crept across the eastern mountains, and I knew something had changed. I cannot explain how I knew. Perhaps it was the silence. The inn was still, as it always is in those hours when the fire has burned low and the guests sleep deeply beneath their wool blankets. But there was something else in that silence, an expectation, a held breath. I rose from my bed in the small chamber beneath the pitched roof, the floorboards cool beneath my bare feet. Through the narrow window that faces east, I could see nothing but darkness. Yet I felt drawn to look outside. I pulled on my boots and my heavy coat, the one with the patched elbows that my father wore before me, and I descended the narrow stairs. The common room was empty and cold. The fire had become embers, red gold beneath a layer of pale ash, and I knelt to stir it back to life. I added kindling, dry birch bark that curls and catches quickly, and then small logs of oak and ash. The flames rose and shadows retreated to the corners of the room, and still I felt that strange anticipation pulling at me. I unlatched the front door and stepped outside. The cold struck me immediately, sharp and clean, carrying the scent of frost and fallen leaves. The sky was just beginning to lighten along the horizon. Not true dawn yet, but that deepest blue that comes before it, when the stars begin to fade but have not yet disappeared. I could see my breath rising in white clouds before me, and then I saw the oak tree. I must have stood there for several minutes without moving. The tree, the ancient oak that has stood at the crossroads since before my grandfather's grandfather walked these roads, was decorated. Ribbons of red and gold and deep blue fluttered from its lowest branches, catching what little light there was. Small objects hung among them. I could not yet see what they were, not in that darkness, but they swayed gently in the cold breeze, catching and turning, catching and turning. I walked her closer, my boots crunching on the frost-stiffened grass. The ribbons were tied with care, their knots tight and even, their ends trimmed clean. Among them hung small carved figures, animals I realized as I drew near enough to see. A deer with delicate antlers, a rabbit mid-leap, an owl with wings spread wide, a fox curled as if sleeping. They were carved from pale wood, perhaps birch or maple, and smoothed until they gleamed. There were other things too. Bundles of dried herbs tied with twine, rosemary and edge, and something else I could not identify, something that smelled faintly sweet, like honey and wildflowers. Small pouches of cloth, their contents unknown, a single brass bell, tarnished green with age, that made no sound even when the wind moved it. A length of silver cord wound through the branches, catching the first pale light of dawn and holding it like captured starlight. I walked slowly around the tree, counting the decorations. 17 ribbons, 12 carved animals, 9 bundles of herbs, 5 cloth pouches, one bell, and the silver cord winding through it all like a thread binding everything together. I looked down at the ground beneath the tree. The frost was undisturbed. No footprints led to or from the oak. No marks in the stiff grass showed where someone might have stood to reach the branches. It was as if the decorations had simply appeared, or as if whoever had placed them had walked on air. I stood there until the sun crested the mountains and spilled gold across the crossroads, and still I could not explain what I was seeing. When I finally returned inside to begin the morning's work, I found myself looking back at the tree again and again as if it might reveal its secrets. If I only watched long enough. It did not. The 23rd day of the waning leaf moon, continued the first to wake, was Marta, the herbalist from the southern marshlands, who had arrived us 2 days ago seeking rare roots that grow only in the mountain foothills. She came down the stairs, wrapped in a gray shawl, her silver-streaked hair still loose from sleep, and she stopped mid-step when she saw my face. "Something has happened," she said. Not a question. I led her outside without a word. She stood before the oak tree for a long time, her weathered hands clasped before her, her breath rising in slow, even clouds. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft with wonder. "The old ways," she said. "I have not seen this since I was a child." "What old ways?" I asked. She reached out and touched one of the ribbons, the deep blue one, letting it slip through her fingers like water. "In the villages where I grew up, before the new roads came and the merchants brought their metal coins and their foreign gods, we would decorate the sacred trees at the turning of the seasons, at the moments when the veil between worlds grows thin." She looked at me, her eyes bright with something I could not name. "This is a crossroads, innkeeper. Roads cross here, worlds cross here. Someone or something has remembered." "But who?" I asked. "There are no footprints. No one in the inn left during the night. I would have heard them." Marta smiled, but it was a complicated smile full of memories and old knowledge. "Perhaps it was not someone from your inn. Perhaps it was not someone at all, in the way you mean." She turned back to the tree. "The carved animals. Look at them. They are the old guardians. Deer for swiftness and grace, rabbit for cleverness and fertility, owl for wisdom and the night, fox for cunning and survival. These are symbols older than writing." I looked at the carvings with new eyes. They seemed almost alive in the early morning light, their pale wood glowing against the dark bark of the oak. "And the bell?" I asked. Marta's smile faded slightly. "A bell that does not ring. That is significant. I am not certain what it means, but it is significant." She pulled her shawl tighter around her shoulders. "This is a blessing, innkeeper. Whatever left these offerings, spirit or stranger, they have blessed this crossroads, blessed your inn. You should feel honored." I did feel something, but I was not certain it was honor. There was wonder, yes, curiosity, a faint unease that I could not quite explain, and beneath it all, a strange sense of recognition, as if I'd seen this before, long ago. In a dream I had forgotten been waking. We returned inside as the other guests began to stir. The fire had grown strong in my absence, filling the common room with warmth and dancing light. I set water to boil for tea and began preparing porridge thick with dried apples and a drizzle of honey. The work steadied me, as it always does. There is comfort in the familiar rhythms of hospitality. The clatter of bowls, the hiss of steam, the smell of food cooking, whatever mysteries the world presents, people still need to eat. The 23rd day of the waning leaf moon, morning. By the time the sun had fully risen, word of the decorated oak had spread to every corner of the inn. The guests gathered outside in small groups, speaking in hushed voices, pointing at the ribbons and the carvings and the silent bell. I watched them from the doorway, a cup of hot tea warming my hands, and I listened to their theories. Brennan, the traveling blacksmith with arms like oak branches and a voice like grinding stone, insisted it must be children from one of the nearby villages. "Young ones do strange things," he said, rubbing his beard with soot-stained fingers. "Probably some game or dare. Snuck out in the night, decorated the tree, ran home before dawn." "Through a frost that shows no footprints?" asked Marta, raising one silver eyebrow. Brennan had no answer for that. At least the young widow traveling north to stay with her sister thought perhaps a passing caravan had done it, merchants or performers seeking good fortune on the road. "I have heard of such customs," she said, her voice soft and hesitant. "In the coastal towns, they tie ribbons to masts before long voyages. Perhaps someone wished to honor this place before continuing their journey. A caravan that came and went without anyone hearing them?" This from Thomas, the wool merchant whose wagon had thrown a wheel 3 days ago and who was still waiting for the carpenter from the nearest village to come repair it. "That seems unlikely." "No more unlikely than any other explanation," Elise replied. They debated back and forth, their breath rising in white clouds, their theories growing more elaborate and less convincing with each exchange. I listened, but did not contribute. I did not have a theory. I only had questions. When the cold finally drove everyone inside, I found a moment alone with the tree. I stood beneath its bare branches, for the oak had lost most of its leaves to the autumn winds, leaving only a few stubborn brown remnants clinging to their stems, and I looked up at the decorations. In the full light of morning, I could see details I'd missed before. The carved animals were exquisitely made, each one showing not just the shape of the creature, but something of its spirit. The alertness in the deer's stance, the ready tension in the rabbit's haunches, the fierce intelligence in the owl's stool's eyes. Whoever had carved them was a true artist. The ribbons, too, showed careful work. They were not ordinary cloth, but something finer, silk perhaps, or something like it. They had been dyed in rich colors that seemed to glow with their own inner light. Red, like autumn leaves, purple gold, like harvest wheat, blue like the sky at twilight. And then there was the bell. I reached up and touched it gently, and it swayed on its cord, but made no sound at all. I could see that it was intact, a small brass bell, the kind that might hang from a horse's harness or a chapel door. But when I shook it, nothing. Just silence, deep and somehow meaningful. "It will ring when it is meant to ring," said a voice behind me. I turned. A man stood on the road a few paces away, a man I had not heard approach. He was old, older than anyone I had ever seen, his face a map of wrinkles, his eyes the pale blue of winter ice. He wore traveling clothes that might once have been fine, but were now patched and faded, and he carried a staff of dark wood carved with symbols I did not recognize. "You know what this is?" I asked, gesturing at the decorated tree. The old man smiled, and despite his age, the smile was warm. "I know what it was once, what it might be again." He walked closer, his staff tapping softly against the frozen ground. "This crossroads has been a meeting place for longer than your inn has stood, longer than the roads themselves. In the old times, people would come here at the turning of the seasons to leave offerings for the spirits of the place, to ask for safe passage, to give thanks for journeys completed." "But no one does that anymore," I said. "No one living," he agreed. "But memory is a strange thing, innkeeper. It lingers in place, in stains, in ancient trees, and sometimes, especially at the thin times of year, when autumn gives way to winter, when the old year dies and the new one waits to be born, sometimes memory wakes and remembers and acts." I stared at him. "You're saying the tree decorated itself?" The old man laughed, a sound like wind through dry leaves. "I am saying that the world is older and stranger than most people wish to believe. I'm saying that there are forces that do not explain themselves, that do not ask permission, that simply are." He looked up at the ribbons, the carvings, the silent bell. "Someone left these offerings. Human hands or spirit hands, it matters little. What matters is the intention behind them. This place has been blessed. Be grateful for that." "Who are you?" I asked. But when I looked back at where he had been standing, there was no one there, just the empty road, the frost-stiffened grass, and a single footprint in the cold earth that had not been there a moment before. The 23rd day of the waning leaf moon afternoon. I spent much of the afternoon in the kitchen preparing a meal substantial enough to warm travelers on a day that seemed to grow colder with each passing hour. A thick stew of root vegetables, turnips and carrots and potatoes from the root cellar, simmered in the great iron pot, enriched with scraps of salted pork and handfuls of dried herbs. Bread rose slowly near the warmth of the clay oven, and I had set aside a small wheel of cheese that a passing farmer had traded for a night's lodging the week before. The work occupied my hands, but left my mind free to wander, and wander it did. Back to the decorated tree, back to Marta's talk of old ways, back to the strange old man who had appeared and disappeared like smoke. I found myself thinking about the inn's first winter, about the old woman who had walked on the top of the snow and given me the white candle that still burned on the mantel. I had not believed in such things before that night. Now I was not certain what I believed. The door opened, letting in a gust of cold air and a new arrival. A young man, barely more than a boy, with a traveler's pack on his shoulders and frost in his hair. He stood in the doorway for a moment, blinking in the firelight, his cheeks red from the cold and his eyes wide with something like fear. "Please," he said, I saw the tree. I need to understand." I set aside my cooking and went to him, guiding him to a seat by the fire and pressing a warm mug into his hands. He drank without seeming to taste it, his gaze fixed on some middle distance I could not see. "Tell me," I said. His name was Jonas. He was a scholar's apprentice from one of the eastern cities, traveling to the mountain monasteries to study old manuscripts. He had been on the road for 3 weeks, and he had seen things, strange things, that his education had not prepared him to explain. "The tree," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I saw it last night. I was camped in the hills to the east, and I could not sleep, and I looked down toward the crossroads, and I saw lights moving around the tree, dancing almost. I thought I was dreaming. I must have been dreaming, but then I came down this morning, and the decorations—" He trailed off, shaking his head. "You saw who decorated the tree?" I asked. "I saw lights," he repeated, "small lights, like candle flames, but moving on their own. They circled the tree, rising and falling, weaving through the branches, and I thought, I could not be certain, but I thought I heard music, very faint, very far away, music and laughter, like children at play." The other guests had gathered around as he spoke, drawn by the intensity in his voice. Marta nodded slowly, her eyes distant. Brennan looked at, uncomfortable, his massive hands clenching and unclenching. Elise had gone pale, one hand pressed to her mouth. "Spirit," Marta said. "What you saw were spirits." "That is not possible," Jonas said, but there was no conviction in his words. "My teachers, the scholars, they say such things are superstition, old stories to frighten children." "Your teachers have never stood at a crossroads on the night between seasons," Marta replied. "They have never seen the veil grow thin. The old stories exist because they are true, young one. Not literally true, perhaps, not in the way we understand truth in the daylight, but true in the way that matters. True in the bones, true in the blood." Jonas looked at me, seeking something, denial perhaps, or reassurance that the world was still the rational place his education had promised. I could offer him neither. "I cannot explain what happened here," I said honestly. "I only know that the tree was bare when I went to sleep and decorated when I woke. No footprints, no witnesses, just this." I gestured toward the window, toward the oak visible in the fading afternoon light. "You may choose to believe it was spirits or strangers or something else entirely, but the decorations are real. Whatever left them meant for them to be found." "But why?" Jonas asked. Why would anything do this?" It was Marta who answered. "Perhaps they are grateful for something. Perhaps they are asking for something. Perhaps they simply wish to remind us that there is more to the world than what we can see and measure and explain. She smiled, but there was something sad in it. We have forgotten so much, we humans. We have built our roads and our cities and our towers of learning, and we have told ourselves that we have conquered the mystery of the world. But we have not. We have only stopped looking at it. The room was silent for a long moment. Outside, the wind picked up, and I could hear the ribbons on the oak tree fluttering, snapping against the bark. I think, I said finally, that we should eat. Whatever the explanation, whatever the meaning, we are here and we are hungry and the stew is ready. Let us take comfort in what we can understand: food, warmth, companionship, and let the mysteries be mysteries for a while longer. There were nods around the room, though I suspected none of us would truly stop thinking about the decorated tree. But we gathered around the table, and I ladled out bowls of thick vegetable stew, and we ate in the warmth of the fire while the autumn twilight deepened outside. So the 23rd day of the waning leaf moon, evening after the meal, as the guests settled into the quiet rhythms of evening, some playing cards, some reading, some simply staring into the fire, I found myself alone at my usual table near the window. The white candle burned on the mantel, its flame steady and unwavering as always, and I watched it for a long time, thinking. The old woman who had given me that candle had told me to welcome them all. The living and the dead, she had said, the remembered and the forgotten. At the time, I had thought she meant travelers, weary souls seeking shelter from the road. But perhaps she had meant something more. Perhaps she had known even then that this crossroads was a place where worlds touched, where the boundaries between what is seen and unseen grew thin as spider silk. I thought about my father, who had built this inn with his own hands. He had never spoken of spirits or old ways or mysterious visitors in the night. He had been a practical man, concerned with wood and stone in the day-to-day work of keeping travelers fed and sheltered. But he had chosen this location, this specific spot where two ancient roads crossed. Had he known, had he sensed something in this place that called to him, even if he could not name it, I would never know. He had died of fever when I was still young, leaving me the inn and the work and the responsibility of the crossroads. I had accepted it all without question, without understanding how heavy it would sometimes feel. A sound pulled me from my thoughts. A soft knock at the front door, hesitant and barely audible over the crackle of the fire. I rose to answer it, though the hour was late and the cold outside would be bitter. At my inn, no knock goes unanswered. Standing on the doorstep was a woman I did not recognize. She was wrapped in a traveling cloak the color of fallen leaves, her hood pulled low over her face. In her arms, she carried something wrapped in cloth, something heavy from the way she held it. "I am sorry to disturb you," she said. Her voice was soft, almost musical. "I have come a long way, and I saw your light. May I come in?" I stepped aside to let her enter. She moved past me with a grace that seemed at odds with the weight she carried, and she stopped in the middle of the common room, looking around at the guests, the fire, the white candle on the mantel. when her gaze reached the window, when she saw the oak tree outside, its decorations visible even in the darkness, she made a small sound that might have been recognition or relief or something else entirely. "You have seen it," I said, not a question. "I helped make it," she replied. The room went still. Every eye turned to her. She lowered her hood, revealing a face that was neither young nor old, neither beautiful nor plain. A face that seemed somehow to shift and change in the firelight, difficult to hold in memory even as you looked at it. "Who are you?" Brennan demanded, rising from his seat, his blacksmith's hands curling into fists. The woman smiled. "I am no one dangerous, I promise you. I am only a caretaker, a keeper of old traditions, as the innkeeper here is a keeper of this place." She nodded toward me, a gesture of respect. "I came to see that our work was received and to leave one more offering, if I may." She unwrapped the bundle in her arms. Inside was a carved wooden box, old and dark with age, covered in symbols that matched those I'd seen on the strange old man's staff. She walked to the mantel and set the box beside the white candle, then stepped back. "This is for the inn," she said, "for the keeper, and for those who pass through. It will bring no harm and may do some good." She looked at me, and her eyes, I saw now that they were the deep gold of autumn leaves, an impossible color, a color that no human eye should hold. Her eyes held mine with an intensity that made my heart race. "You have built something special here, a refuge in the wilderness, a light in the darkness. The old powers remember those who offer shelter without asking for proof of worthiness. They remember and they are grateful." "What is in the box?" I asked. "Seeds," she said, "from trees that no longer grow in this world. Plant them in spring around the crossroads, and they will flourish. They will mark this place as sacred for generations to come." She pulled her hood back up, preparing to leave. But Jonas, the young scholar, stepped forward. "Wait," he said, "please. I have so many questions. The lights I saw, were they your people? Where do you come from? How can I find?" The woman held up one hand, and he fell silent. "The answers to your questions would not satisfy you," she said gently. "Your mind wants facts and proofs and explanations that fit the categories you have been taught. But some truths do not fit into categories. Some truths must be felt rather than understood." She looked around the room at all of us, her strange golden eyes touching each face in turn. "Remember this night. Remember that the world held mystery once and holds it still for those willing to see. That is all I ask." And then she was gone, not through the door. I was standing beside it, and she did not pass me, but simply gone, like smoke dispersing, like a dream fading upon waking. One moment she was there, the next only empty air where she had stood. The carved box remained on the mantel. I walked to it, half expecting it to vanish as she had, but it was solid under my hands, real, heavy with the weight of whatever lay inside. I did not open it, not then, Not yet. It seemed wrong somehow, like opening a gift before the appropriate time. "Well," said Brennan, his voice rough, "I have no explanation for that." "Neither do I admitted. We stood in silence, the fire crackling, the wind moaning against the shutters, the white candle burning steadily beside the mysterious bark. Outside, the decorated oak tree stood sentinel at the crossroads, its ribbons fluttering in the darkness like prayers sent up to an indifferent sky, or perhaps not indifferent at all, perhaps listening, perhaps answering in ways we were only beginning to understand. The 24th day of the waning leaf moon. I did not sleep well that night. I lay in my bed beneath the sloped ceiling of my small chamber, listening to the sounds of the inn settling around me, the creak of old wood, the murmur of embers in the great fireplace below, the occasional footstep as a restless guest moved through the darkness. And beneath it all, just at the edge of hearing, I thought I could detect something else. Music, perhaps, or wind through branches, or the echo of laughter, very far away. When dawn finally came, I rose and went immediately to check on the carved box. It sat where the woman had placed it, untouched, unchanged. The white candle still burned beside it, its flame reflecting off the dark wood and the strange symbols carved into its surface. I studied those symbols for a long time, trying to find meaning in their curves and angles, but they remained opaque. Perhaps they were from a language no one living spoke. Perhaps they were not language at all, but something else, marks of power or protection or blessing, older than writing, older than words. The morning passed quietly. Guests woke, prepared for their departures. Brennan, who had been the most skeptical, the most determined to find a rational explanation, left without saying goodbye. I saw him through the window, loading his pack onto his horse, glancing uneasily at the decorated tree before riding away to the south. Elise came to me before she left, taking my hands in hers. "I do not know what happened here," she said, "but I feel lighter, as if something that was burdening me has been lifted." She smiled, and there were tears in her eyes. "My husband died a year ago. I have been carrying his ghost with me ever since, unable to let him go. But last night, after that woman spoke, I dreamed of him, and he told me it was all right. He told me to live." She squeezed my hands. "Thank you for this place. Whatever it is, whoever watches over it, thank you." She left, heading north toward her sister's house and whatever new life awaited her there. Thomas, the wool merchant, decided to stay another day. His wheels still needed repair, he said, though I suspected the real reason was that he was not ready to leave yet. He spent much of the day sitting by the window, watching the oak tree, writing in a small journal he carried with him. And Jonas stayed as well. He had questions, he said. He needed to understand. I told him that understanding might not be possible, might not even be the point, but he was young and earnest and determined. The arrogance of scholars, perhaps, or simply the hunger of a curious mind, refusing to accept mystery as answer. In the afternoon, more travelers arrived, a family of 4 fleeing poor harvests in the eastern lowlands, seeking work in the mountain mining camps. A husband and wife, 2 children, all of them thin and tired and worried. I gave them the best room I had available and fed them without asking for payment. They had little enough, and the road ahead would be hard. The children, a boy of perhaps 8 years and a girl of perhaps 6, were fascinated by the decorated tree. They ran outside despite the cold, circling the oak, reaching up to touch the lowest ribbons, asking question after question that their exhausted parents could not answer. I watched from the doorway as the boy climbed onto his father's shoulders to get a closer look at one of the carved animals, the deer with its delicate antlers. "It is beautiful," the boy said, his voice carrying in the cold air. "Who made it?" "I do not know," his father admitted. "Was it spirits?" Mama told us stories about tree spirits. She said they used to watch over the old forests. The mother, a tired woman with kind eyes and work-roughened hands, glanced toward the inn, toward where I stood. Our eyes met, and she gave a small shrug as if to say, "What can I tell him? How can I explain what even the adults do not understand?" "Perhaps it was spirits," she said finally, turning back to her son. "Perhaps it was simply someone who wanted to make the world a little more beautiful." "Does it matter?" The boy considered this with the seriousness of childhood. "I suppose not," he said. "It is beautiful either way." Out of the mouths of children, as the old saying goes, truth often comes most clearly from those too young to overcomplicate it. The 24th day of the waning leaf moon evening. As evening settled over the crossroads, I found myself drawn outside once more. The cold was sharp, biting, promising the first true frost of the coming winter, but I pulled my coat tighter and walked to stand beneath the oak tree. The decorations had not changed, the ribbons, the carvings, the herbs, the silent bell, but in the fading light they seemed somehow different, more present, more real. I could see the pulse that had gone into each one, the attention to detail, the intention. Whatever had left these offerings, human or spirit or something else, had done so with love. That much was clear. I thought about the woman who had come the night before, her words about seeds, about trees that no longer grew in this world, about marking this place as sacred for generations to come. I did not fully understand what she had meant, but I felt the weight of it. The responsibility. This crossroads had been here for longer than I could imagine. The roads that met here carried travelers from every corner of the known world, merchant and pilgrims, soldiers and refugees, dreamers and wanderers. They came seeking shelter, seeking rest, seeking a moment of peace before continuing their journeys. And I was here to welcome them, to offer fire and food and a safe place to sleep, to witness their stories and honor their passages. It was, I realized, not so different from what the tree had always done. The oak had stood at this crossing for centuries, perhaps millennia, offering shade in summer and shelter from wind in winter, marking the place where paths diverged. Travelers had rested beneath its branches long before the first stone of my inn was laid. They had carved their initials into its bark, hung tokens from its limbs, whispered their hopes and fears into its ancient wood. The decorations were a continuation of that tradition, a reminder that we are all travelers, all passing through, all in need of moments of beauty and wonder to sustain us on the road. I do not know who you are, I said aloud, speaking to whatever might be listening, the tree, the spirits, the wind. But I thank you for this place, for this blessing, for the reminder that there is more to the world than what we can see. The wind picked up and the ribbons fluttered, and for just a moment I thought I heard something, a whisper, a rustle, a sound that might have been laughter or might have been nothing at all. And then it was gone, and I was alone beneath the decorated tree, watching the first stars emerge in the darkening sky. I went back inside to tend the fire, to prepare the evening meal, to welcome whatever travelers might still arrive before the night grew too deep for travel. The work of hospitality, the work I was born to do. The 25th day of the waning leaf. Moon. The morning brought a surprise. The carpenter from the nearest village finally arrived to repair Thomas's wagon wheel. He was a stocky man with sawdust in his beard and a skeptical eye that took in the decorated tree with undisguised wariness. "What is all that about?" he asked, jerking his chin toward the oak. I told him the truth, that I did not know, that it had appeared overnight with no explanation. He grunted, neither believing nor disbelieving. "Strange things happen at crossroads," he said. "My grandmother used to tell me never to spend the night at a crossroads alone. She said the spirits gather where paths meet." "Do you believe that?" I asked. He thought about it for a long moment, his hands busy with his tools, his eyes fixed on some middle distance. "I believe that there are things I cannot explain," he said finally. "And I believe that it is usually best to leave such things alone." He glanced at the tree again, then shook his head. "Pretty enough, though, I will give it that." He spent most of the day working on Thomas's wheel, while Thomas paced anxiously and the children from the Eastern family watched with fascination. They had never seen a carpenter at work before. Their village had no craftsmen, only farmers struggling against poor soil and worse weather. The carpenter, gruff as he was, took time to explain what he was doing, to show them how the wood fit together, to let them hold the tools under his watchful eye. "Every trade is magic, if you do it right," he told the boy, whose eyes were wide with wonder. "Wood has a spirit. It wants to be shaped if you know how to listen to it. You cannot force it. You have to work with it. Follow its grain, respect its nature. It is a partnership, not a conquest." The boy nodded solemnly, and I thought, here is another kind of mystery, not spirits, dancing in moonlight, not decorated trees appearing from nothing, but the quiet magic of skill passed from hand to hand, generation to generation, the magic of knowing how things work and caring enough to do them well. Jonas, the scholar's apprentice, sought me out in the afternoon. He had been writing in his journal all morning, filling page after page with cramped script, and now he looked simultaneously exhausted and energized. "Sure, I have been thinking," he said, "about what the woman said, about truths that must be felt rather than understood." "And what have you concluded?" I asked. He laughed, a surprised sound, as if the laughter had escaped without permission. "I have concluded that my education has left me poorly prepared for this world. I spent years learning to analyze, to categorize, to explain. But none of that helps me make sense of what happened here. None of that tells me what to do with what I saw." "What do you want to do with it?" I asked. He was quiet for a long time, staring out the window at the decorated tree. "I think," he said finally, "that I want to change what I am looking for. I went to the monasteries seeking old manuscripts, old knowledge, old proofs. But perhaps I should be seeking something else. Understanding that cannot be written down. Wisdom that exists only in moments and places and people." "The monasteries might have that too," I said. "Wisdom does not only live in books, but it does not avoid them either." He smiled, a genuine smile, the first I'd seen from him since he arrived. "You are right. I should not abandon my studies, only expand them, open myself to possibilities I had closed off." He looked at me. "Thank you for letting me stay, for not laughing at my questions." "Questions are never laughable," I told him. "Only the certainty that one already has all the answers." The 25th day of the waning leaf moon evening. As the sun began its descent toward the western hills, painting the sky in shades of rose and gold, I finally opened the carved box. I had waited, without knowing what I was waiting for, permission, perhaps, or simply the right moment. But as I stood alone in the common room, the fire crackling low, the other guests occupied elsewhere, I felt that the time had come. I lifted the lid. Inside, nestled in a bed of dried moss, lay a handful of seeds. They were small and dark, like apple seeds or pear seeds, but with a faint iridescent quality that caught the firelight and threw it back in unexpected colors, blue and green and gold. There were perhaps 24 of them, no more. "Seeds from trees that no longer grow in this world," the woman had said. "Plant them in spring around the crossroads." I closed the box and set it carefully on the mantel, beside the white candle that never burned down. 2 gifts now from visitors who walked between worlds. 2 responsibilities to carry. I thought about spring, about the ground softening, the snow melting, the first green shoots pushing up through the dark earth. I thought about kneeling in the mud around the crossroads, planting these impossible seeds, wondering if they would grow, wondering what they would become. I thought about the future, about travelers not yet born who might one day rest beneath the shade of trees I had planted, about the inn standing for another generation, another century, a beacon at the crossroads for whoever needed it. The work of hospitality extends beyond a single lifetime. I understood that now. What I do here, The fires I tend, the meals I prepare, the guests I welcome is part of something larger than myself. Part of a pattern that stretches back to the first moment when someone realized that kindness could be offered to strangers, and stretches forward to some distant time I cannot imagine. The decorated tree outside was a reminder of that pattern, a message from those who came before, or from those who exist alongside us in ways we cannot perceive. And it said, "This place matters. This work matters. You are not alone." The 26th day of the waning leaf moon, Marta, the herbalist, left this morning. She had found the roots she sought, or so she said, though I noticed she did not show them to anyone, and her pack did not seem any heavier than when she arrived. Perhaps what she found was not something that could be carried in a bag. Before she left, she stood with me beneath the oak tree one last time. The decorations remained bright despite 2 nights of frost and wind, as if they were protected by some force beyond the physical. "I have visited many sacred places in my life," she said. "Groves and springs and standing stones, places where the old powers still linger. This crossroads is one of them now. Perhaps it always was, and the decorations simply reminded us. Or perhaps they marked it anew for whatever purpose we cannot guess." She looked at me, her silver-streaked hair blowing in the cold breeze. "Guard it well, innkeeper, such places are rare." "I will," I promised. She smiled, a warm smile despite the cold, and then she was walking south along the road, her gray cloak fading into the gray morning until she was gone. The family from the eastern lowlands left as well, heading north with renewed hope. The children waved from the back of their small cart, and the mother called out thanks that I barely deserved. I had given them only what I give everyone: food, shelter, warmth. But sometimes that is enough. Sometimes that is everything. Thomas finally departed with his repaired wheel, the carpenter riding beside him partway to collect his payment. Jonah stayed one more night, reluctant to leave, still wrestling with questions that had no answers. I understood his reluctance. Some places change you, and leaving them feels like leaving a part of yourself behind. But we all must move on eventually. The road calls. The journey continues. The 26th day of the waning leaf moon evening. I am writing this by candlelight, as I always do. The white candle burning steady on the mantel, the carved box of seeds beside it, the fire settling into embers in the great stone fireplace. Outside, the oak tree stands at the crossroads, its decorations still bright, still beautiful, still unexplained. Tomorrow, new travelers will come. They will see the ribbons and the carvings and the silent bell, and they will ask what they mean. I will tell them what I told the others, that I do not know, that they appeared overnight without explanation, that the world holds mysteries beyond our understanding. Some will accept this, some will scoff. Some will be changed by it, as Elise was changed, as Jonas was changed. Each person meets the mystery in their own way, and that is as it should be. As for me, I will continue my work, keeping the fire, preparing the food, welcoming the travelers, writing in this journal by candlelight, recording what happens at the crossroads, bearing witness to the small and large moments that make up a life. The old woman told me to welcome them all, the living and the dead, the remembered and the forgotten. I think perhaps I understand that now a little better than before. We are all travelers. We are all passing through. And what we leave behind, a ribbon tied to a branch, a carved figure hanging among the leaves, a word of kindness offered to a stranger, matters more than we can know. The oak tree was decorated overnight. By whom or what I cannot say. But I am grateful. I am humbled. I am reminded that I am not alone in this work, that unseen hands labor beside me, that the world is vaster and stranger and more beautiful than I can comprehend. That is enough. That is more than enough. The 27th day of the waning leaf moon. This morning, the bell rang. I was in the kitchen kneading dough for the day's bread when I heard it, a single subtle clear note, sweet and high, coming from somewhere outside. I knew immediately what it was. I wiped the flour from my hands and walked to the window. The brass bell that hung from the oak tree, the bell that had made no sound no matter how the wind blew or how hard I shook it, was swaying gently. And from it came that single sustained note, fading slowly into silence. I went outside. The morning was cold and bright, frost glittering on every surface, my breath rising in white clouds. I stood beneath the tree and looked up at the bell, now still and silent again, and then I saw what I had not noticed before, or perhaps what had not been there before, carved into the bark of the oak. At the level of my eyes were words, fresh words, the exposed wood, still pale and new. They read, "Welcome, keeper of the crossroads. You are seen, you are honored, you are not alone." I touched the letters with my fingertips. They were real, solid, carved with care and precision, each stroke deliberate. Had they been there all along, hidden somehow, or had they appeared overnight, like the decorations themselves? I would never know, and perhaps it did not matter. I stood beneath the decorated tree as the sun rose higher and the frost began to melt. I thought about the woman with golden eyes and the old man with a carved staff and all the travelers who had passed through this crossroads over the years, the decades, the centuries. I thought about my father who built this inn and about whoever might come after me to tend it when I am gone. The road runs north and south. The road runs east and west. At the crossroads, they meet. And here, in this small inn, with its thick stone walls and its great fireplace and its sloped roof, travelers find rest. That is my work. That is my purpose. And now I know, I truly know, that I do not do it alone. The bell is silent again. The decorations still hang from the oak tree's branches, bright against the dark bark. And somewhere, in a realm I cannot see or reach or understand, something is watching over this place, something that cares. I am grateful beyond words. The 27th day of the waning leaf moon afternoon. New travelers arrived as the sun reached its peak. A party of 3 from the western frontier their faces weathered by wind and hardship, their horses tired but well cared for. They were settlers, they told me, heading east to find supplies before the winter closed the mountain passes. The eldest among them was a woman named Hazel, perhaps 50 years of age, with hands roughened by labor and eyes that had seen difficult things. She noticed the decorated oak tree immediately. "Well," she said, standing in the doorway of the inn, her gaze fixed on the ribbons and carvings. "That is something you do not see every day." I told her what I had told the others, that the decorations had appeared overnight, that I did not know who had placed them, that the world held mysteries beyond explanation. She listened without interrupting, her expression thoughtful. "My grandmother used to tell stories about the old ways," she said when I had finished. "About the times before the new settlers came, when the people who lived here understood that the land was alive, that the trees and the stones and the rivers had spirits, and those spirits could be honored or offended depending on how you treated them." She looked at me. "I always thought they were just stories, tales to entertain children on long winter nights. But now," she trailed off, shaking her head, "now I'm not so certain," she finished. The two men with her, her sons, I learned, both in their 20s, both bearing the lean, capable look of frontier folk, were less moved by the mystery. They wanted food and rest and hay for their horses, and I provided all three without question. The younger one, Marcus, kept glancing at the tree through the window as if expecting it to do something, but the elder, Samuel, seemed determined to ignore it entirely. "Strange things happen in strange places," Samuel said when his mother brought up the decorations again at dinner. "Does not mean they mean anything." "Everything means something," Hazel replied. "That is what your grandmother would have said." "Grandmother believed in fairies and fortune-telling and the evil eye," Samuel said. "She also believed that carrying an acorn in your pocket prevented rheumatism. She was wrong about that." Hazel smiled, but there was sadness in it. "She was wrong about some things," she agreed, "but not about everything. The older I get, the more I guess how little I truly know about the world, how much of what I was certain about when I was young has turned out to be incomplete or simply wrong." She looked out the window at the oak tree, its decorations dark now against the fading sky. "I would rather believe in too much than too little. The cost of wonder is lower than the cost of cynicism." Samuel had no response to that. He finished his meal in silence and went upstairs to bed, his brother following. But Hazel stayed by the fire, her hands wrapped around a mug of warm cider, her eyes distant with memory. "My grandmother lived to be 93 years old, she told me. She buried 2 husbands and 3 children and saw her homeland change beyond recognition. But she never lost her sense of wonder, never stopped believing that the world was full of things worth marveling at." She took a sip of cider. "I want to be like that. I want to die still believing in magic, even if it turns out I was foolish." "I do not think that would be foolish," I said. She looked at me, and there was gratitude in her expression. "Thank you," she said, for the food, for letting an old woman sit and ramble about her grandmother. "That is what this place is for," I told her. "Stories and warmth and rest. Whatever else might be true about the decorations on that tree, they do not change what the inn offers." She nodded slowly. "No," she agreed, "they do not. But perhaps they remind us why such offerings matter. The 27th day of the waning leaf, moon night. I found Jonas still awake when I made my rounds before retiring. He was sitting in the common room, the fire burned low, a single candle flickering on the table before him. His journal lay open, but he was not writing, just staring at the page, his expression troubled. "You should sleep," I said gently. "The road to the monasteries is long, and you will need your strength." He looked up at me, and I was struck by how young he seemed in that moment, barely more than a boy, really, despite his scholarly pretensions and his careful words. The world had confused him, and he did not know how to find his footing again. "I have been thinking about what you said," he told me, "about questions being never laughable. But what about questions that have no answers? What about mysteries that cannot be solved?" I sat down across from him, feeling the weight of the late hour in my bones. "What about them?" "My entire education has been about finding answers," he said, "about taking questions and reducing them to their component parts and analyzing them until they yield their secrets. But this," he gestured vaguely toward the window, toward the decorated tree outside, "this does not yield. The more I think about it, the more confused I become." "Perhaps that is the point," I said. He frowned. "What do you mean?" I thought for a moment, trying to find words for something I felt more than understood. "When I was young," I said, "my father taught me to tend this inn. He showed me how to build a fire that would last through the night, how to season a stew so it would satisfy without overwhelming, how to make a stranger feel welcome from the moment they crossed the threshold. These were practical skills, things I could learn and master and repeat." Jonas nodded, waiting. "But there were other things he taught me that I did not recognize as lessons at the time," I continued. "The way he listened when travelers told their stories, the patience he showed when someone was rude or ungrateful, the care he took with the small details, a fresh candle in a guest's room, a blanket warmed by the fire on a cold night. These were not skills I could master. They were ways of being, attitudes, orientations toward the world." "I'm not sure I understand," Jonas said. "I am not sure I understand either," I admitted. "But I think what I am trying to say is that some things cannot be understood in the way your education has taught you to understand. They can only be lived, experienced, absorbed through time and attention and willingness to sit with uncertainty." Jonas was quiet for a long moment. The candle flickered, casting shadows across his young face. "That is terrifying," he said finally. "Yes," I agreed, "it is. But it is also liberating, in a way. If everything could be explained, There would be nothing left to discover, nothing left to wonder at. The mystery is not a problem to be solved. It is a gift to be received. He closed his journal and sat back in his chair. I do not know if I can think that way, he said. My mind is not, it does not work like that. It does not have to work like that all the time, I said. Only sometimes. Only when you encounter something that refuses to fit into your categories. Then you can choose, force it into a box it does not belong in, or let it be what it is and see what happens. He smiled, a tearful smile, but genuine. You are surprisingly philosophical for an innkeeper. And you are surprisingly humble for a scholar, I replied. Perhaps we are both learning new ways of being. He laughed softly and rose from his chair. Perhaps we are. Thank you, innkeeper, for everything. Sleep well, I told him. The road will still be there in the morning. The 28th day of the waning leaf moon. Jonas left at dawn, his pack heavy with provisions I had pressed upon him despite his protests. He stood outside the inn for a long moment looking at the decorated oak tree, and I saw his lips move as if in prayer, or perhaps farewell. Then he shouldered his pack and walked east toward the mountains and the monasteries, and whatever wisdom he hoped to find there. I watched until he disappeared over the first hill. Another traveler moving on, another story continuing beyond my sight. Hazel and her sons departed shortly after, heading in the same direction. She stopped to press a small coin into my palm. More than I would have asked, more than their stay was worth. For your hospitality, she said, and for the reminder that wonder still exists in the world. I tried to give the coin back, but she refused. Consider it an offering, she said, to whatever watches over this crossroads. May it please them. And then they were gone too, their horses' hooves crunching on the frost-hardened road, their voices fading into the cold morning air. I stood alone outside the inn, my breath rising in white clouds, the decorated tree silent and still beside me. The bell did not ring. The ribbons hung motionless in the windless air. The carved animals watched with wooden eyes that seemed almost alive. I thought about the seeds in the carved box waiting for spring. I thought about the woman with golden eyes and her promise that trees would grow from them, marking this place as sacred for generations. I thought about my father and his father before him, and whoever might come after me to tend this inn when I am gone. The work continues. The travelers come and go. The fire burns and the seasons turn, and the crossroads waits for whoever needs it. That is all. That is everything. The 28th day of the waning leaf moon evening. The day brought no new travelers, unusual for this time of year when the last caravans hurry to complete their journeys before winter closes the passes. I spent the hours alone, tending to the tasks that keep the inn running, chopping wood, mending a loose shingle on the stable roof, scrubbing the great iron pot clean of yesterday's stew. Ordinary work, necessary work, the kind of work that grounds me when my thoughts want to spin off into speculation and wonder. But even as my hands stayed busy, my mind kept returning to the decorated tree, to the carved words on its bark. Welcome, keeper of the crossroads. You are seen. You are honored. You are not alone. Who had carved them when the bark was fresh, the exposed wood still pale? They could not have been there long. But I had walked past the tree a dozen times since the bell rang, and I had only just noticed them this morning. Had they appeared overnight like the decorations themselves? Or had they been there all along, hidden somehow, revealed only when I was ready to see them? Questions without answers. The world is full of them. In the evening, I sat by the fire and opened my journal, this journal, and began to write. I wrote about the tree and the decorations and the travelers who had come and gone. I wrote about Marta's wisdom and Jonas's questions and Hazel's grandmother. I wrote about the old man with the carved staff and the woman with golden eyes and the carved box of seeds waiting on the mantel. I wrote until my candle burned low and my hand cramped and the words began to blur together on the page, and then I set down my pen and sat in the silence, listening to the settling sounds of the inn around me, feeling the weight of all that had happened and all that was yet to come. The decorated tree stood outside, keeping its vigil. The white candle burned on the mantel, steady and unchanging. And somewhere in the darkness, in the spaces between worlds, in the thin places where roads cross and boundaries blur, something was watching, something that knew my name, something that had claimed this place as its own long before I was born and would continue to watch over it long after I was gone. I was not afraid. How could I be? Whatever it was, whatever they were, they had done nothing but bless this crossroads and remind me of my purpose. They had decorated a tree with ribbons and carvings and left seeds for planting. They had carved words of welcome and honor into ancient bark. These were not the actions of malevolent spirits. These were offerings, gestures of kinship, recognition from one keeper of sacred spaces to another. I am the innkeeper. I welcome travelers and tend fires and write by candlelight. And somewhere out there, somewhere beyond the reach of ordinary sight, others are doing their own work in their own way, watching over this crossroads as I watch over it. We are partners, collaborators, keepers of the flame, each in our own fashion. That is a comfort I had not expected to find. The 29th day of the waning leaf moon. More travelers today, a merchant couple from the southern marshes, carrying spices and dyes too exotic for local markets. They were making their way to the eastern coast, where such goods fetch a better prices, and they stopped here to rest and resupply before tackling the harder roads ahead. The woman, whose name was Cora, was fascinated by the decorated tree. She walked around it, 3 times touching the ribbons, examining the carvings, sniffing the bundles of dried herbs. "This is old magic," she said when she came inside, her dark eyes bright with recognition. "Very old. I have not seen it since I was a child in my grandmother's village." Another grandmother, another keeper of old knowledge, passing it down through generations. I wondered how many grandmothers across how many villages had told similar stories, kept similar memories alive. "Tell me," I said. Cora settled by the fire, accepting a mug of warm tea with a grateful nod. Her husband, a quiet man with clever hands and watchful gaze, sat beside her but let her do the talking. "My grandmother was a healer," Cora said. "She knew the old ways, the herbs and the songs and the rituals that people used before the new religions came. She used to tell me that the world was full of spirits and that some places were more present than others. Places where the spirits gathered, places where the boundary between our world and theirs was thin." "Crossroads," I said. She nodded. "Crossroads, rivers, ancient trees, standing stones, places where paths meet or change direction. My grandmother said the spirits were drawn to transition, to movement, to change, to the moments when one thing becomes another." I thought about my inn, sitting at the junction of two ancient roads, about the travelers who came here at moments of transition in their own lives, fleeing old troubles, seeking new fortunes, pausing between where they had been and where they were going. "She said you could honor the spirits," Cora continued. "Leave offerings, show them that you remembered they were there, and if you did, if you kept the old traditions, they would protect you, watch over you, keep the dark things at bay." "The dark things?" I asked. Cora's expression grew troubled. "The spirits were not all benevolent," she said. "My grandmother made that clear. There were good ones and bad ones, helpful ones and harmful ones. The offerings were partly gratitude, yes, but also insurance. A way of ensuring the good spirits stayed close and the bad ones kept their distance." I looked at the decorated tree through the window, at the ribbons and the carvings and the silent bell. Were these offerings meant to attract good spirits or to ward off bad ones, or perhaps both? "I do not think the spirits that did this meant any harm," I said slowly. "Everything they left, it feels like a blessing, a kindness." Cora nodded. "Yes, I think you're right. But it is still good to be respectful, good to acknowledge what they have done. In my grandmother's village, when we received such blessings, we would leave an offering in return, something small, a bit of bread, a splash of wine, a few flowers, a way of saying thank you." I thought about this, about the exchange of gifts, the back and forth of hospitality. It was not so different from what I did every day with my human guests. They gave me their coin, and I gave them food and shelter and warmth. A transaction, yes, but also something more, a relationship, an acknowledgement of mutual need. Perhaps the spirits worked the same way. Perhaps they had needs too, even if I could not understand what those needs were. And perhaps my acknowledgement, my gratitude, my willingness to accept their gifts without demanding explanations was the offering they most wanted. "Thank you," I said to Cora, "for telling me this." She smiled. "Thank you for listening. It has been a long time since anyone wanted to hear the old stories." The 29th day of the waning leaf moon, evening. After Cora and her husband retired for the night, I went outside with a small loaf of bread and a cup of warm cider. The night was cold, the coldest yet this autumn, and the stars blazed overhead with a fierce brightness that seemed almost defiant against the darkness. I walked to the oak tree and stood beneath its decorated branches. The ribbons fluttered in a breeze I could barely feel, and the carved animals turned slowly on their cords, their wooden eyes catching the starlight. I knelt at the base of the tree and set down my offerings. A small loaf of fresh bread still warm from the oven, a cup of spiced cider, steam rising into the cold air. Simple things, ordinary things, but offered with intention, with gratitude, with recognition of all that had happened in these strange and wonderful days. "Thank you," I said aloud, speaking to the tree, to the spirits, to whatever might be listening. For the decorations, for the seeds, for the reminder that I am not alone in this work. I do not know who you are or what you want, but I know you have blessed this place, and I am grateful. The wind picked up for a moment, setting the ribbons dancing. The bell swayed but did not ring. And I thought, though I could not be certain, that I heard something in the wind, a whisper, a sigh, a sound that might have been acknowledgement or might have been nothing at all. I stayed there for a long time, kneeling in the cold grass, watching my breath rise toward the stars. And when I finally rose and returned to the inn, I felt lighter than I had in years, as if a weight I had not known I was carrying had been lifted from my shoulders. The decorated tree stood behind me, keeping its watch. The night deepened around it, and somewhere in the darkness, in the spaces between worlds, something was pleased. I could feel it. The 30th day of the waning leaf moon, the last day of autumn. Tomorrow, by the old calendar, winter begins, the long, dark time of cold and silence and waiting for spring. But today, the sun shone with a warmth that felt like a gift, a final blessing before the hard months ahead. Cora and her husband departed early, heading east toward the coastal markets. She pressed a small bundle into my hands as she left, spices from her stock, worth more than their night's lodging. "For the spirits," she said with a knowing smile, "or for yourself. The way may they bring warmth to the dark days ahead." I thanked her and watched her go, another traveler vanishing down the road, another story continuing beyond my sight. The inn was empty now, just me and the fire and the white candle and the carved box of seeds. I spent the day in quiet work, airing the bedding, scrubbing the floors, checking the stores in the root cellar, preparing for winter as I did every year. The rhythms of survival, ancient and unchanging. But I also took time to sit outside beneath the decorated tree, watching the shadows move across the crossroads as the sun traced its arc overhead. The decoration seemed to glow in the autumn light, the ribbons brilliant, the carvings gleaming, the herbs releasing their faint, sweet scent into the warming air. I thought about all that had happened in the past week. The mysterious decorations appearing overnight, Marta's talk of old ways, the old man with the carved staff who vanished like smoke, Jonas and his questions, Hazel and her grandmother's wisdom, Cora and her stories of spirits good and bad, the woman with golden eyes who came and went between heartbeats, leaving seeds and promises behind. So much wonder, so much mystery, And through it all, the ordinary work of hospitality continuing, fires lit, meals prepared, beds made, travelers welcomed, the sacred and the mundane woven together like the silver cord that wound through the tree's branches. Perhaps that was the lesson. Perhaps the spirits were showing me that there is no separation between the magical and the everyday. That the act of welcoming a stranger is as sacred as the most elaborate ritual. That the fire I tend each morning is a holy flame, as worthy of reverence as the white candle that burns without diminishing. Or perhaps I was reading too much into things, as humans always do. Perhaps the decorations meant nothing but themselves. Beauty for its own sake, wonder for its own sake, a gift given without expectation of understanding. Either way, I was grateful. Either way, I would continue my work. The 30th day of the waning leaf moon continued. In the afternoon, an unexpected visitor arrived, not a traveler, but the carpenter who had repaired Thomas's wheel. He came alone, on foot, his toolbox slung over one shoulder. He wanted to see the tree again, he admitted, somewhat sheepishly. Been thinking about it since I left. Could not get it out of my head. I understood. The tree had a way of lingering in the mind, of demanding attention, even when you tried to look away. We stood together beneath its branches, two practical men staring up at ribbons and carved animals, searching for explanations we knew we would not find. My grandmother was right, the carpenter said finally, about the spearwood, about the crossroads. I did not want to believe her. I wanted the world to make sense, to fit into the categories I understood, but some things do not fit. He shook his head. I am not sure what to do with that. Perhaps you do not need to do anything with it, I said. Perhaps it is enough to simply acknowledge it, to let the mystery be mysterious. He looked at me, and there was something like relief in his eyes. That is what my grandmother would have said. Wise woman, your grandmother. He laughed, a short, surprised sound. She was. Drove me mad sometimes with her stories and her superstitions. But she was wise. He looked back at the tree. Do you think they are watching? The spirits. Right now? I considered the question carefully. I think, I said slowly, that something is always watching. Whether that something is spirits or gods or simply the accumulated attention of all the travelers who have ever passed through this place, I do not know, but I feel it, especially since the decorations appeared. The carpenter nodded. I feel it too, like being in a church almost, that sense of presence. We stood in silence for a while longer, two men bearing witness to something neither of us could explain. Then the carpenter sighed and shouldered his toolbox. I should go, he said. Work to do back in the village, but I'm glad I came, glad I saw this again. You're always welcome, I told him, for a meal, a drink, a warm fire. This inn is for everyone who needs it. He smiled, a genuine smile, with no trace of his earlier skepticism. I believe that, he said. I believe you mean it." He walked away down the southern road, and I watched him go. Another brief intersection of paths, another moment of connection at the crossroads. The 30th day of the waning leaf moon evening. As the sun set on the last day of autumn, I stood at my window in the small chamber beneath the pitched roof and watched the sky turn from gold to rose to deep violet. The oak tree was a dark silhouette against the fading light, its decorated branches reaching toward the emerging stench. Tomorrow, winter begins. The wheel turns, the seasons change, but some things remain constant. The inn stands at the crossroads, a beacon for travelers. The fire burns in the great stone fireplace. The white candle glows on the mantel beside the carved box of seeds. And I am here, as I have always been, as I will always be, for as long as I am able, keeping the flame, welcoming the wanderers, writing by candlelight. The decorations will fade eventually, the ribbons will tatter, the carvings will weather, the herbs will crumble to dust. But the memory will remain. And in spring, when the ground softens and the snow melts, I will plant the seeds from the carved box. I will watch them grow into trees that no longer exist in this world, marking this place as sacred for generations to come. That is my promise, my offering, my way of continuing the work that was begun long before I was born and will continue long after I am gone. The oak tree was decorated overnight. By whom or what I cannot say. But I have learned not to need explanations for everything. I have learned that some mysteries are gifts to be received, not puzzles to be solved. I have learned that I am not alone, and as the last light fades and the first stars appear, and winter waits to claim the land, I take comfort in that knowledge. I take comfort in the decorated tree and the silent bell and the carved words on the ancient bark. Welcome, keeper of the crossroads. You are seen, you are honored, you are not alone. Yes, I believe that now. I believe the first day of the frost moon. Winter has arrived. I woke this morning to find the world transformed. A thin layer of snow covering the crossroads, the roof of the stable, the branches of the oak tree. The decorations looked different now, the bright ribbons startling against the white, the carved animals dusted with frost like creatures caught in an enchantment. No travelers came today. The roads were quiet, the snow discouraging all but the most determined. I spent the morning by the fire, warming myself, watching the flame dance, thinking about all that had happened since the decorations appeared. It seems longer than a week. It seems like months. Time moves strangely when you are living through something extraordinary. It stretches and compresses, refusing to follow its normal rhythms. In the afternoon, I bundled myself in my warmest coat and went outside to tend the horses in the stable. They were restless from the cold, stamping and snorting, their breath rising in great white clouds. I gave them extra hay and spoke to them softly, the way my father taught me, and gradually they calmed. From the stable door, I could see the oak tree clearly. The snow on its branches was beginning to melt. where the weak winter sun touched it, dripping slowly, but the decorations remained pristine. The ribbons were not wet. The carved animals showed no sign of moisture. The herbs hung exactly as they had hung since the beginning, neither wilted nor frozen. Another small impossibility, another detail that refused to fit the ordinary patterns of the world. I thought about what Marta had said about the old ways, about honoring the spirits of place, about the thin boundaries between worlds at crossroads and ancient trees. I thought about what Cora had told me about her grandmother's village, about offerings and protections and the exchange of gift between humans and whatever else shared this world with us. And I thought about my own grandmother, my father's mother, who had died when I was very young. I barely remembered her, just fragments, the smell of lavender, the feel of rough wool, a voice singing songs I could no longer recall. But I remembered one thing clearly. She had told me once that the world was full of doors. Most people walk right past them, she had said. They do not know they are there, but some places, special places, the doors stand open. And if you're brave enough or foolish enough, you can step through. I had not understood what she meant then. I was too young. But standing in the stable doorway, watching the impossible decorations on the impossible tree, I thought perhaps I understood now. This crossroads was one of those places. The inn sat beside an open door, and whatever lived on the other side had reached through to leave a gift. The first day of the frost moon, evening. A traveler arrived as dusk was falling, a woman alone on a horse that looked ready to collapse from exhaustion. She was wrapped in a cloak so thick with snow that I could not see her face, and when she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "Please," she said, "I have come so far. Is there shelter here?" Helped her from her horse and led her inside, settling her by the fire while I went back out to tend to the animal. It was a sturdy mare, gray with white markings, and despite its obvious exhaustion, it watched me with intelligent eyes as I led it to the stable. "Where have you come from?" I asked, though of course the horse could not answer. "What has driven your rider through such weather?" The horse merely snorted and began eating the hay I provided, apparently unconcerned with questions it could not comprehend. When I returned to the inn, the woman had removed her snow-covered cloak and was sitting close to the fire, her hands extended toward the flames. She was younger than I had expected, perhaps 30 years of age, with dark hair braided back from a face that showed tints of both beauty and hardship. Her clothes, beneath the cloak, were well made but travel-worn, and she carried a satchel that she kept close to her side, as if it contained something precious. I brought her hot tea and a bowl of thick soup, and she accepted both with gratitude that seemed almost desperate. "Thank you," she said. "I did not know if I would find shelter tonight. The snow came on so suddenly, and the roads were unfamiliar." "Where are you traveling?" I asked. She hesitated before answering. "North, to the mountains. I am searching for someone." I did not press for more details. Travelers carry their secrets, and it is not my place to pry them loose. I simply offered her more tea and told her she was welcome to stay as long as she needed. Later, when she had eaten and warmed herself, she noticed the decorated tree through the window. The snow had stopped falling, and in the clear night air, the decorations were visible even in the darkness. The ribbons stirring in the wind, the carved animals catching stray moonlight. "What is that?" she asked. I told her the story, the decorations appearing overnight, the visitors who had come and gone, the mysteries that remained unsolved. She listened in silence, her expression unreadable. "I have heard of such things," she said when I finished. "In the old stories, trees that speak, crossroads where the worlds overlap. My mother used to tell me." She stopped, her voice catching. "She used to tell me that if you were lost, truly lost, you should find a crossroads and wait, that help would come if you were patient enough." "Is that why you're here?" I asked gently. She looked at me, and there were tears in her eyes. "I am searching for my brother. He disappeared 3 months ago, traveling into the northern mountains. No one has seen him since. I have been to every village, every settlement, every farm along the road. No one knows anything." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "I am running out of places to look." I thought about all the travelers who had passed through my inn over the years, the stories they carried, the people they were searching for, the places they were trying to reach, the past they were trying to escape. "Rest tonight," I said. "In the morning, we will talk. Perhaps I know something that can help. Perhaps not, but you should not make decisions while you are old and tired and grieving." She nodded, accepting my advice with the weariness of someone who had been running for too long. I showed her to one of the private rooms upstairs, the one with the window facing east, where she would see the sun rise over the mountains she was heading toward. Before she closed the door, she turned back to look at me. "Thank you," she said, "not just for the shelter, for listening, for not telling me to give up." "Hope is all we have sometimes," I replied. "I would not take it from anyone." The second day of the frost moon. Her name was Elena, and her brother was a surveyor who had gone into the mountains to map new routes for the mining companies. He had been expected back in early autumn. When he did not return, the company sent searchers, and the searchers found nothing. No body, no equipment, no sign of where he had gone or what had happened to him. Elena refused to accept that he was dead. "I would know," she insisted. "If he were gone, I would feel it. We were twins. We have always known when the other was in trouble." I could not argue with that kind of certainty. I had no twins, no siblings at all. But I had heard similar stories from other travelers, bonds that defied explanation, connections that persisted across distance and time. We sat by the fire in the morning light, drinking tea, talking about her brother and his journey. She showed me the map he had left behind, marked with the route he intended to take and the areas he had been assigned to survey. The marks went deep into the mountains, into territory I had never visited, territory that even the miners approached with caution. "There are stories about those mountains," I said carefully. "Travelers have told me things, strange disappearances, people who claim to have walked for days and arrived back where they started, lights in the darkness that lead nowhere good." Elena nodded. I have heard the stories too, but I cannot let them stop me. If there is even a chance that Julian is alive, I understood. I would have done the same in her position. Before she left, I gave her what provisions I could spare: dried meat, hard bread, a flask of strong spirits for warmth. I also gave her something else, a small piece of one of the ribbons from the decorated tree. I don't know if it will help, I said. But Marta, a traveler who passed through here, she said these decorations were blessings, protections. Perhaps they will protect you too. Elena took the ribbon and tied it around her wrist, her expression somewhere between skepticism and hope. "Thank you," she said. "If I find Julian, I will come back and tell you. I promise." "I will be here," I replied, "waiting to hear." She rode away into the snow-bright morning, heading north, toward the mountains, toward whatever awaited her there. I watched until she was out of sight, then turned back to the inn and the work that was waiting. Another traveler moving on, another story continuing beyond my sight. I hope hers has a happy ending. But I have learned not to assume anything about the stories I witness. Sometimes they end well, sometimes they do not. All I can do is offer shelter and kindness and whatever small blessings I have to give. The rest is out of my hands. The second day of the frost. Moon evening tonight. As I write by candlelight, the snow has begun to fall again. It drifts past my window in slow laid spirals, blanketing the crossroads in white, muffling all sound until the world seems wrapped in cotton. The decorated tree stands in the center of that whiteness, its ribbons bright against the snow, its carved animals keeping their eternal watch. The bell hangs silent. The herbs sway in the wind. I think about Elena somewhere out there in the mountains, searching for her brother. I think about Jonas, climbing toward the monasteries with his questions and his hunger for understanding. I think about Martus and Cora and Hazel and all the others who passed through this place in the days since the decorations appeared. They are all carrying pieces of this story with them now. Memories of the tree, questions about what it means. Perhaps in years to come, they will tell others, children, grandchildren, travelers they meet on distant roads. The story will spread and change and grow, becoming something larger than what actually happened. That is how mysteries work. That is how sacred places are made. I am part of something bigger than myself. I have always known that, in an abstract way, the inn has served travelers for generations, and it will continue to serve them long after I'm gone. But now, I feel it more concretely. I am one link in a chain that stretches back to the first person who realized this crossroads was special, and forward to whoever will tend this place after me. The decorated tree is a reminder of that chain. A message from those who came before, or from whatever has always watched over this place, saying, "You are not alone. The work continues. We are with you." I find great comfort in that, greater than I can express. The fire is burning low. The white candle still glows on the mantel. Outside, the snow continues to fall, and the decorated tree stands sentinel at the crossroads, keeping faith with mysteries I may never fully understand. Tomorrow, new travelers may come, or they may not. Either way, I will be here, keeping the flame, welcoming whoever needs shelter. That is my purpose. That is my gift to give. And somewhere out there, in the spaces between worlds, something is pleased.
And there we leave the innkeeper tonight, standing beneath the decorated oak as winter approaches, bearing witness to mysteries he cannot explain but is learning to accept. The decorations remain, ribbons of red and gold and blue, carved animals keeping their silent watch, bundles of herbs and a bell that rings only when it chooses. And in the carved box on the mantel, seeds wait for spring, when they will be planted around the crossroads, growing into trees that no longer exist in this world. Perhaps they are out there still, the spirits or strangers who left these offerings. Perhaps they are watching. Perhaps in their own way they are listening to this very story, pleased that it is being told. We cannot know. And perhaps that is the gift. Thank you for spending this time at the crossroads. If you enjoyed your stay, consider leaving a small offering of your own. A like, a subscription, a kind word shared with someone who might need a place of rest. Until next time, dear traveler, may your roads be safe, your fires warm, and your mysteries gentle. Good night.